flex would be linked to how much we like our stacking, whether we know the Enneagram or not, or like how much we're showing it off. Somebody can own all the good parts about themselves and like peacock. I think what's positive about the fours is that I'm seeing, even though it's like labeled friends and family, I feel like there is a lot of focus on self as well, but just like the more feminine self, the inner self, the self that's ordinary. Like when you're able to be an ordinary self, you're able to look at your flaws more and like sit with them.
The Big Hormone Enneagram.
I'm John Lekovich, 415, Sexual Self-Pres, 458 Trifix.
I'm David Gray, Self-Pres Sexual, 9 with 1 wing, 974 Trifix.
What up, it's Emeka. I'm an 8 wing 7, Sexual Self-Pres with 854 fixes.
Hi, I'm Alexandra. I'm a Social Self-Preservation 9 wing 1, 963 Trifix.
Like and subscribe on Apple and Spotify, and leave us a review. If you want to support the show with a donation, you can find us on Venmo at Big Hormone and paypal.me/Big Hormone. What's up, everybody? So we're continuing where we left off with the conversation we were having about the OPS social roles with Ikram. But before we get into that, I'm going to hit you with the usual plugs. Get typed by Enneagrammer at enneagrammer.com. If you haven't been typed by us, join our monthly membership so you can learn how to become dangerously perceptive and skilled at seeing types clearly. With our weekly typing videos, we recently typed Jada Pinkett Smith, Liam Nielsen, Andre 3000, who just came out with the Flute album. That was interesting. Sign up today at enneagrammer.com.
It's John here to plug the trip to Egypt, March 3rd to the 14th, egypttreats.com for more information. I've been reluctant or hesitant to advertise too much about it because of the crisis in Palestine. Felt kind of inappropriate to be like, come to the Middle East. But today I was speaking with my contacts in Egypt, and Egypt itself, emotionally is going through its own thing. But in terms of practicality and safety, things have been safe, things have been fine, things have been stable and normal in Egypt. So I want to give another shout out or plug for Egypt before our December 3rd early bird special runs out. We've got a fair number of signups, and some people have said that they want to come, but they are maybe feeling nervous about what's going on. So they have decided to wait it out, and understandable, do your own thing. But things seem to be fine, and they should probably, in terms of just being in Egypt. And so just to say, I feel like there is no better to get a real felt experiential sense of what the Enneagram and not only Enneagram, what like a representation of or an expression of the principles of inner life put into artwork, put into philosophy, put into architecture, put into a way of understanding and entering into the landscape itself. There's no better way of seeing inner life and what it means, and all these facets of spirituality represented externally and as something treated as real and valuable and valid than Egypt. Egyptian civilization was really trying to make a outer life conform to the principles of inner life more seriously and with more focus and intention than, to my knowledge, any other civilization in history, and it lasted for over 3,000 years. So I think it's going to be a very special trip. It's going to be a very intimate trip, and kind of a once in a lifetime thing. I've known a lot of people who've gone on Egypt trips where there's them before the trip and them after the trip. And so if you're on the fence, write us an email, look at our website, egypttreats.com. I think it's going to be really special and cool and fun. And I hope that you will consider coming.
So, do we have enough juice to continue this conversation that we had about?
I think so. How do y'all feel?
Pretty good, yeah. Ikram had some more stuff, and I think maybe we had
I
some
don't
more
I actually
impressions.
don't have that much more. I was afraid it was going to be a bit boring because if we're leading on my stuff, it's not that much. I only have the feminine being the feminine
Identity.
identity being friends and family or whatever that point, and then the masculine identity being the
Flex.
flex. I wrote some stuff to David about it, but that's
That-
really all I've got so far.
I
That
thought it was
sounds
good.
interesting.
I thought it was good, like the flex thing being like looking at yourself as a trajectory. You had better wording for it, but we didn't talk very much about one, so maybe that would be a good way to like maybe get into some masculine identity flex stuff.
I was also thinking, if these are social roles, then maybe there's something in a similar vibe to like sexual polarities or roles or something like that. Like as I understand it, at least these social roles are like how you show up socially or interpersonally. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and so how you show up sexually.
Oh, that'd be interesting.
I think this is an interesting conversation about like comparing the self-pres social framing and then using it like through the other stacks or through the other instincts. So I think
Oh, yeah,
John,
that's
you
interesting.
a little bit of that, and then I think Alexandra, you just straight up mentioned that this framing exists. So maybe we could talk about that a little bit. That'd be interesting. I know, David, you said that this might be like limited to social. You could kind of whatever TE that out as well.
I think,
Mhm.
by the way, the self-pres social framing that they did is part of why it didn't land for us, and it wasn't clear.
Right.
And it made it smaller in a way.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah, I think it was good to connect it to all these other archetypal energies. I think I've seen some people, maybe it was you, David, who mentioned that this is also like the king warrior,
Yeah,
magician, lover
Oh, right,
archetype.
right.
Like there's these ways that things can split up into four. So that sort of makes it bigger. It makes it,
Yeah.
okay, I can see these archetypal energies and how they might fit in different ways. I think also someone has suggested that does this have any relation to my sexual instinct? And I still think it's probably just, it's about group dynamics. It's not.
I think there's something to explore there, honestly, because it's like we had that object relations call, which was really interesting. We were talking about the drive to reproduce and the drive to just self-preserve and take care of oneself or whatever. So maybe the self-preservation instinct is, I don't know. That one is kind of, I guess, talked about with David Chan, the SPSO, but like there probably is a way like that these social types or whatever is playing a part in attraction and seduction. If we take like just the social part, just like purely, we kind of did that in our last talk. We made it like more of a social first conversation. Like social is about power. If you go to the very like whatever depth of it, and there is definitely different like friends savior is kind of like soft power, flex is kind of like hard power. I think there could be something there, but I don't know. I'd like to hear why you guys think it's totally not probably going to be sexual.
I was just thinking about myself as a sexual type. Me and John being both sexual self-pres, I would say that yes, I'm specific, but it does feel like my sexual display is more about the container, right? Like there's more about like, even though inadvertently, like this group and all this stuff that I've co-created attracts a certain type of person that eventually led to my lady. You know, shit like that. You know, like there is a way that maybe my sexual display is more about I'm in my corner, like John doing my specialty or specialization, and more about like I've made and produced this thing. That
Yeah.
So maybe there is some influence on my
Like you
sexual-
casting a spider web and got your little fly.
Exactly.
I mean,
She's a very loud fly, though. She's very
if I
expressive
apply being a 3 in that system to my self-pres, I mean, a lot of this, what I'm about to say, is 974, but I do have a thing of, this relates to the, what was it, king, warrior, magician, lover. 3 is magician. Just an expectation that stuff is going to come to me and I'm not going to have to build it. You know, as
Okay.
far as self-prezi stuff, somehow I'm magically attracting
Oh, that's interesting.
money and resources or whatever.
Yeah.
No.
So yeah, I mean, the social role 3 or whatever. If we're applying that to sexual, I mean, like I'm like, for how withdrawn I am, I'm super hammy. You know, like
There you go.
True.
Right.
for how withdrawn I am, it's like sometimes I step back and I'm like, well, I'm very hammy, you know, and it doesn't really make sense with a 4-wing 5 with a 5 fix, but
Right.
you know, and then sexually, I'm a little bit hammy as well.
A little bit.
That first zone in New York was
Okay.
John was on the bed doing fucking magic
Gyrations.
Magic
with his
Mike.
shirt off.
There you go, Magic Mike.
magic
Yeah,
Mike.
Special John.
Yeah.
He
Special
showed up-
John is my.
He showed up to dinner at a restaurant with no
With his
shirt
shirt
on.
I remember the look on your face, Alexandra, when he showed up.
Shocked.
Somebody took
She
a
was
video. Somebody took a video of when I showed up with my shirt off or something, and Alexandra made some comment of like, "What are you doing?" or something like that. But then the video pans over to her, and she gives me this like very obvious like checks me out up and down I fuck thing, and it's like so funny. It's still on video.
Objectification, Alexander.
His flexing worked, man. He got it.
Yeah, that kind of ties into something Joseph initially wrote when he got his social type back, is that he theorized that flex would be linked to how much we like our stacking, whether we know the Enneagram or not, or like how much we're showing it off. So like and I see that difference between me and Joseph, like him being
That's
social
really
sexual, me being
interesting.
social sexual. I'm always thinking about the downsides of like, I'm so self-pres blind. And then he's just like, but we're magical, you know? It's so great to be us, sparkles in this, you know? So that I can easily see that like translating into real life, where somebody can own all the good parts about themselves and like peacock.
I think that ties into your point about like flex being sort of like, or number one being like masculine identity and like looking at all the things that are great about yourself and wanting to showcase that. But the opposite being the feminine identity, and I guess the blind spot. I think you were getting at some like, okay, what does this actually mean in terms of what you might need to integrate if you are flex first? If you're missing this feminine identity, which is like, how did you explain that? I don't remember exactly.
Yeah, so I'll just briefly so when I was looking at all the people who are typed 1 and 4 and just thinking about myself, I was thinking that there's obviously some kind of lacking of self-awareness with type 1s that I cringe at. You know, that's, I was trying to pinpoint like what is the exact same thing. Like, what is this thing that like is bothering me about 1? Is like this person thinks that they're awesome and then they're deficient in a lot of ways, you know? But then I'm also able to like switch over and see like this person is like, they actually are really admirable. Like, like basically it's kind of the hero's journey, right? Where it's somebody who like believes that there's something that they need to do and they just have to figure out what it is, and they're gonna like proliferate themselves into society or whatever, throw themselves into society with that responsibility second, which is basically this idea of like ownership of the public space, like as you said, Alexandra. So I was like, okay, that's the positive side, and that side feels like intense, like self-love and actually like pretty dignified and good. And that's the side of myself that I'm missing. It feels masculine. It feels phallic. It feels like vitalized, right? And then I looked at the 4s and I was like, okay, let me look at what's negative about the 4s and what's positive about the 4s. Well, I think what's positive about the 4s is that I'm seeing, even though it's like labeled friends and family, I feel like there is a lot of focus on self as well, but just like the more feminine self, the inner self, the self that's ordinary. Like when you're able to be an ordinary self, you're able to look at your flaws more and like sit with them. And I think that's contributes to this whole like sad sack, like whatever little
Sad
trope
Cinderella.
going on. Yeah, the sad sack 4s, whatever. When they fall real bad, blah blah blah. But then I'm also like, these people are super intense when it comes to inner discovery, and also understanding other people. So that's the feminine self of like who you are in relation to the other, basically. It feels much more holistic, but then it's missing the masculine phallic thing of just like, it's like we're all equal, we're all this, we're all that. Like, I don't know. It feels like kind of limp sometimes.
On the other axis, there's a masculine, feminine too, right? That would be, what is it? You were just doing
For responsibility and specialization. Now, she was saying that 1 and 4, the polarity there is on identity. So like 1 is masculine identity and 4 is feminine identity. And I think you had something different for responsibility and specialization.
And just for like listeners' sake, like we're talking like the OPS social roles, and so like 1 is dominant in something called flex, and it is like out of these 4 categories, friends is the weakest, right?
Yes.
And then it's the reverse for 4. So that's why we're juxtapositioning them, is like friends is first for social role 4 and Ikram social role 4.
It's the exact reverse stacking.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I like that it sort of makes it bigger, right? Like it's saying that 1 is like you're seeing all the things that could be great about yourself. Or I guess to bring it back to the stackings thing is that you would identify most with what's so great about your stacking, like, or what your stacking could be. Because you're wanting to like, like we're trying to relate the stuff to the stacking or just your identity in
distinctive
general.
as well. What's distinctive about your talents or whatever, just being like hyper aware of what your talents are, and then also looking at yourself as like I think the wording I used was something like looking at yourself as kind of like an athlete, like something that's strong and something that can push themselves out there, and how far can you go, like how far can you test your capabilities, and then that's kind of your life story, right? It's like how far I've pushed myself and what I've overcome, and and then of course if you have all that going on, I think what I'm trying to get at is I'm trying to get to like the bottom of what the actual thing is, and I know that the production is like flex, you know what I mean? And I'm trying to get the bottom of what like the actual thing is for friends, and I know that it's like some kind of friendly demeanor or whatever, you know what I mean? But really, it feels like it just feels a little bit more alive than that, because then there's so much ones that I don't find like irritating, you know, or aren't super flexy, but I can see how they are like that. They have that thing of like, this is what I want in life, and I'm going to go forward. And I still see how they're also pushing down more of the like the more intimate, like I know every single boo-boo of mine, and yeah. And there's like a self-respect in both 1 and 4 that's like 4 has a self-respect of like, even if I'm an ordinary person, like I'm still valuable almost or whatever, like I'm still worthy of like looking at myself and being in relation with others. And then 1 has the value of like, I don't fucking care what any of you people think, like I'm really like I have something, and you'll actually get to know later in life. And so that feels like 2 different polarities that seem to
that gets to something we were texting about earlier. Like I said it about 3, but you said you included 2, and it makes sense that with 3 specialization first, we generally don't value our whole personhood, because of we're thinking that the only thing we should get any points for is what we specialize in. That's the only thing, that's the reason to show up in a social setting, right? Not just me as a person. I've got to bring something. That's my specialty. Yeah.
So 2 and 3 have there's like a polarity there of I got to bring something. Maybe, something different. Like maybe for me, it's like I've got to, at the zones, it's always like this has got to go well, and I'm responsible to make sure it goes well.
Right. Mothering.
And I don't get to feel proud of myself unless it does.
Yeah.
That's like, I don't have any pride unless like I'm able to do this whole like whatever holding thing. Or
So yeah, if we like were to make like I just imagine like a graph like this, like an X, and so like the 2-3 polarity is like bringing something. What would be the 1-4 polarity?
It's identity. It's
identity.
Who I am and
oh, it's interesting. So like who I am and versus what I do.
Yes,
that's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm what I'm seeing with the 2s and 4s, like if we're gonna bring in OPS, like I know that we're layering so many different like theories together, but in like in OPS, with your 4 functions, like what you have in the middle is what you kind of have a balanced, relationship with. And so the fact that you guys were so easily able to be like, oh, like I don't feel like I'm valuable unless I'm bringing like something to the table that's like pretty like whatever. And it's the similar thing to Emeka with his whole thing of like, I only feel proud of myself unless when I'm able to complete this responsibility thing, whatever. So it feels like the 2s and 3s are like constantly like in conversation with this like thing, and feel it and understand it. And then the 1s and 4s, if we're gonna bring back the some of the OPS language of like tidal waves, like it's a thing that happens to them in big waves of just like, and I've seen that a bunch, like 1s like totally losing all of self-worth all at once and just feeling like total garbage. And then 4s at the same time, like this thing that I deserve to be in communion with others and like I'm doing pretty much okay. That goes away at some point and there's like some kind of breakdown. So I've seen that in a lot of people who have been typed, this tidal wave thing. So I'm interested in, do you guys see any tidal waves with responsibility last or with specialty last? Has there ever been a time where like it's really bitten you in the ass and like fucked you over, whatever?
Okay, just to recap that for the people. What she's saying is that in OPS, your savior and your last function, there's this big polarity there. So you experience these tidal waves. And so with OPS, if you're SC first, you're going to have these tidal waves where you're not doing NI. And so same thing with the social types. Or you can even say with the instinctual stacking where the middle is a play zone, you're fine there, you're comfortable there, but you have this intensity with your dominant instinct or your blind spot. And so with the 1s and 4s, it's flex and friends. And so they have this intense polarity around flex and friends or their identity. And then with the specialization for the 3s and 2s, it's this intensity around responsibility versus your specialization. So she's asking if we've experienced any intensity around that polarity.
I've never had a responsibility tidal wave.
You have one every year, David.
Yeah, what would a responsibility title, like, what is an example?
Okay, I'll use David as an example. He's the easy one. So I mean, it's okay. So as a 3, you're in your corner doing your own thing, and you're not looking at the big picture or what you're doing plays a role in the big picture. And so, for example, with David, he's doing his own thing, and maybe potentially one of those things gets messy and it becomes a big drama that we have to get into on a Zoom call and talk about. And now David is dealing with responsibility. Oh, David, the thing that you're doing is fucking things up for everybody. And it's a whole thing.
Should I take responsibility? I don't know. I mean, it just kind of happened.
So it's like you're so far into your specialization that you're not seeing the part that your thing is playing in the whole until it's such a problem that the 1s and the 2s are like, dude, get your shit together.
David's responsibility is the art of love. So,
lover boy, himbo,
attraction magician.
The first example I thought of was, I've never been fired, but the first example I could think of for responsibility loss would be like getting fired or getting like ejected from something or being kicked out of a project or something like that. This is like not totally, well, this is not a tidal wave, but I was thinking like if 1 and 4 is identity and the identity crash into like worthlessness or a low self-worth or something like that. I couldn't quite grasp it. But I am wondering if like 2 and 3 maybe relates to like I have nothing to offer or something like that. Like that could be the crash.
Yeah.
If it's based around like my output or whatever, I definitely have like pretty frequent waves of being like I have nothing that anybody would want to like hear or think is interesting, or I have nothing that anyone would find useful at all. Like that kind of thing comes in waves for me.
I do have those. I have a tidal wave of just everything I've done with all of this Enneagram stuff is just a madman kook, and and it's just insane, and just like, oh my God, what is this mess I've made?
Totally.
Yeah. I know John has that because I've been, before John published his book, he was like about to delete it. So he's had that
wow.
Interesting. Yeah.
And I have stuff with, I can produce things, and at times it can feel like there's not enough specific me stuff in there, or like I can end up getting lost in the collaborative shit that I'm doing, or I produce things in a big picture way that I'm like, I don't know, it just doesn't feel like I'm doing anything, even though I am doing stuff.
There's a really good example of a guy who has typed that I was like, when he got typed it too, I was like, damn, like that explains a lot. So I was always fucking confused by him. His name is Tom Bilyeu. And basically he's an entrepreneur, and he always wanted to make movies, went to film school, all this shit, like did comedy clubs, like he did a bunch of whatever random things. And then he got his name like by doing like protein bars, like the Quest protein bars. And then he sold his part of the company, and he's like, I'm going to fucking pursue my dream. I'm going to make movies. And then instead he made an internet interview show where he interviews people about success. And he's been doing that for like fucking 6 years. And he's like, yeah, I'm always like waiting to invest for my movies and da-da-da. And it's just like, this guy's a millionaire. He's like really successful. And like all the stuff he does is pretty successful, but it's literally him going to find specialists, interviewing them for the masses, and never ever producing the fucking thing that he said he wanted to do 30 years ago. Like never made a single movie. He has all the money.
That's the same guy that produced those early Jim Carrey movies, right? Or directed them, actually, I think, if we're talking about
this guy's he's a self-help dude, Tom Bilyeu.
Because the guy that did those early movies, it's exactly that same story. Yeah. He was a big Hollywood director, but now he does that kind of, I don't know, searching out talent kind of thing.
Yeah. So,
but maybe that's the gift of the two. Is I've always felt like my creativity comes through just by pulling the right elements together to make the whole thing work. And that's what like a movie director is, or like a music producer is. It's like you've got personalities involved, you got the music side, you have all these things that go into making a thing, and someone has to make all the parts or put all the right elements together to make the thing work. But it can feel like if I'm doing all that stuff, if I'm putting making the container, it does feel like, am I doing anything? It doesn't seem like you're doing anything.
You're thinking about like the way that you try to make a vibe during the zone, And I hung out with Courtney on Monday. I saw her shoot like just for lunch or something, and we talking about the zone, and I told her about the the thing with you and David, and just like the the eyes looking for the music and all this, and she said something like, one night it would be interesting to challenge Emeka to like not touch the music, or like have a playlist already going.
No, I mean, the playlist is already going. I did that a few times this zone because I did have some pre-playlists. But to me, it's like that is literally what my personality needs to happen. Is the vibe has to be right. I cannot exist here if this doesn't feel or sound like I'm happy when the right music is there, the conversation's going, interesting shit's happening. I'm comfortable. We got food. It's like. That's exactly where we need to be. If that's not happening, I'm not having a good time. I'm agitated. I'm angry. So it would be a challenge. No, I wouldn't even be here. What are you talking about?
I had a conversation with somebody recently. It was that same kind of thing, talking about type 3 now, of, somebody who will remain nameless was saying that they like me, my person, just me without whatever Enneagram shit, without me as a guitar player. And when they said that, it was like, I don't exist. Like, I don't have any concept of my existence without what I'm bringing, like things like that,
It's also, I don't want to make it seem like, I'm providing this because I'm just taking care of you guys. Yeah, sure. But I'm taking care of myself,
right?
First and foremost. Like, I need this environment to be hospitable to me first and foremost. You guys all get to benefit, but
such an 8, dude.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, like with Alexandra and I both being social role 3. I'm trying to like distinguish it from Enneagram.
Yeah, social
stuff,
role.
Just because, as we get further along, we just develop our own insular like lingo and leave everybody else behind.
Yeah.
But I think this is like a really interesting thing to add to the Enneagram.
Yes, yeah.
I mean, this thing about like you, Emeka, being a social role 2 but an 8.
Mm-hmm.
And Ikram being a social role 4 but a 7, it's like a really interesting. Like I'd want to like go down that route longer to see how Enneagram types might fit into these roles in a way that almost like looks strange,
right.
or like as unusual, or what would what would somebody of my type but like social role 4 look like? Like that's
I mean, one way to say it is, their social roles in this system is what makes them tolerable to us, Otherwise,
yeah, that's what I mean, for sure.
Yeah, we wouldn't even like these people.
So we...
good.
No, we've gotten... this is something to talk about. We've gotten these 9s who don't seem like 9s to people because there's like... They have like this assertive... Not just assertive energy, but it's like a certain kind of like focus on shepherding people, for example. I think we typed somebody recently who had written like 5 books and he's like in his mid-20s. Like, where's all this production coming? It's not just Trifix. Yeah. We've definitely seen Trifix 9s who aren't so, driven in that way. And so,
ding, ding.
So you get these like probably social role 2 9s or social role 1 9s that, or, Obama is an example. Like he'd always been like the leader in everything. He'd always been the president of this. And so like, what is that this Bermuda social self-press 9-wing 8 is just trying to be the top when you got all these other Bermuda 9s who aren't like that at all.
Disappear or whatever.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, thinking like Alexandra and I being social role 3s, like I can see it myself of, I need to be activating her in some way all the time, constantly, and like impressing her and making her laugh and bringing this out and be like, "Do you like this?" And like, "What do you think about this?" And like, this constant, like Alexandra always talks about when she watched those like Birds of Paradise documentaries on Netflix. She was like, "Oh, now I understand John," or something. Because it is actually like, I know like make a joke out of it, but it is like relentless.
It's not exaggerated. Yeah.
But like, you, Alexandra, have your own version of that. Like, I want to be used up sexually, but like you have this sort of
diva-esque.
There's a diva quality combined with like, I'm the greatest like lover partner that you could ever and like both of us in our own ways need a lot of positive reinforcement for the thing that we're
okay.
So
I'm like a good partner. I'm a great partner, like that kind of deal. Specialization partner.
Social, right, in social instinct Enneagram, right? You're specializing in.
Yeah, I'm like reading love books and all this shit, and like I've got you.
That's interesting. I'm trying to think of like us being sexual self-pres, but like how that influences our sexual display, or like what, our style of lover boy. How does that look with you having flex first and me having friends first? I gotta think
specialize first.
Specialize first.
Oh yeah, specialize first versus me being responsibility first.
Because I mean, that thing of you creating a like attractive vibe. Is real.
Yeah.
Is interesting. Like, because you're not like the biggest like ham.
Right,
especially for an 8. You're not that. You're ham, but you're not like as big a ham as that.
Yeah, you're more of a ham than I am, for sure.
I'm definitely more
you
of a
can
ham.
tap into it, but yeah, it's not you don't lead that way.
Yeah, I'm like, it's funny, it's like, because after we recorded and thinking about this thing, it's like, oh, like the ham is strong in this one. And
Yeah.
so with you, like, I'm curious, Ikram, given you have been the prey to this predator, how this attraction display vibe, like how that, like, I'm imagining like a siphon, like when a ball rolls down a siphon and they go like end up in the middle, like
Yeah.
how did you perceive his like his juice energies in the atmosphere?
Juice energies. While she
process that for a second.
The juice-mosphere.
Juice-mosphere.
Oh my god. Okay, well,
Pink
while
juice.
she recenters, I'm wondering if social role 2 seems to have a little bit of overlap with like a self-pres sexual kind of deal. Well, at least it seems a little bit of Emeka's. Like maybe your
Oh, I can get
expression
that
of it
in a way, yeah.
seems a little bit self-pres, like making sure the environment's like,
Yeah.
I guess you have a point
comfortable,
there.
Sensually,
like-
it's like sensual.
like charged and yeah.
Charged. Yeah.
Well,
Like
I
it's
guess,
like ready for some shit to happen.
for sex to happen.
like you could say that it's like it's a container for the people, because responsibility and friends. So it would be more self-pres social. So as a
Yeah, I guess
sexual
so.
type, it's like I think
I
about
just
this.
don't think that's what was like the hook. You know what I mean? I'm like, okay, I think it's nice that you had the good
Vibe.
vibes, the
Right.
music and
Yeah.
stuff. But
He played the right tracks.
played the right track. But okay.
How did I get you?
I will say that maybe responsibility first is more like, the way that you say that you like it's creating a container for just like the group and stuff. You're very nice at creating a container for like a relationship as well. Like very a lot of like words of affirmation and also just like, just like really romantic and just like, you're not getting rid of me, that type of stuff.
Oh
And
my god.
ready to move and just like, I'm workable. Like that is kind of better. And it's like,
Oh my god.
it sounds dry, like whatever the way I'm talking about it. It's deeply romantic.
No, it doesn't sound dry at all to me. I'm
So
more just
that
like,
is-
yes, Emeka needed a social mouthpiece so we can know all these gooey secrets.
Yeah, so I wouldn't say it sounds self-pres social. Like the way I experienced it was very sexual self-pres. Somebody going like, yeah.
Yeah, it's a prey. Yeah.
Maybe what it is like, okay, if the sexual attraction field, I can see it as there's like, I'm going to get you there. Like there's a beginning and the end. I want you to feel like this. And so I know that I need to present myself and present this in a certain way so that you can feel the way I want you to feel. Like I want you to know that I'm really into you. I want you to know that I'm really here, I'm going to make it happen. Like I'm going to make the container of this attraction, I'm going to make so that you get the picture,
Create an erotic den.
Yeah.
Aw.
And there's the friends piece secondary
back
as well,
rooms.
where it's like it's others focused.
Dragging you into the back rooms like it's
embarrassing.
prey.
Now I'm trying to keep it together. Like, literally demythify. Like
Wasn't there an incident that happened?
my face is making a lot of different like twitches. I can feel the twitch.
Wasn't there an incident that literally happened in the background?
Yeah, there was a
Shush.
David's like, turn it up a notch.
I know. Sorry. I apologize on all their behalves. But also welcome. And I'm sorry again.
Sorry, welcome. Do
Yeah.
more. Stop. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, that's a good. I'm seeing myself there. That there's with John, maybe it's like there's a peacocking thing. Oh, do you like this and this thing that I've got? And where with me, it's more like maybe there's a way that I need to create the impression of how I want. Like I want you to know how
I've got
into
it. It's like, do you guys remember Gomez from the Addams Family? It's
Yeah.
kind of like that.
Oh my god.
I can see that.
A lot of devotion and good vibes.
Oh.
He's pushing Morticia to the front of the stage or giving her the face for it.
Oh my god, amazing.
Yeah, I mean, like Emeka's occasionally written something like that thing way back on the fixes. It's like I keep expecting more or whatever, or wanting more. And there's a reluctance to do that. And
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought about, I have these specialization urges, but they just get, they just get superseded by other big picture things. Because I did think about doing a series on that, but I was like, that's probably enough of an overview.
On the fixes?
Well, I had done something on the Trifixes that we did that episode on, like Trifix, how to determine what fixes you have.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like thinking of doing each one, like doing a whole thing on each one.
Oh, that'd be cool.
You should do that.
Yeah, I should.
It would be really good.
I will.
All the flexors are like, do it.
Yeah. I think it would be good.
That'd be awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be funny to figure out, because I mean, I felt like last meeting we had, we talked more about, explicitly social roles, and now we're getting into how these social roles apply to sexual display.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, who would be like a one or a social role one or role for sexual displays or something? You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
I mean, I don't know, Ikram, how you display. I know it's your second instinct, but like how that hook thing works.
Isn't part of it though that it's 2 and 3 that are kind of doing in a way, to simplify it, 2 and 3 are doing a display, like there's a work, whereas 1 and 4, it's just who I am as a person. Like it's you're either coming to me or not, or whatever. You know what I mean? Something like that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes
Yeah.
sense.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I'm gonna just look up the database.
So 2 and 3 they've got a thing that they're doing. Okay, and then 1 and 4, it's me. Let me think about that. Is there?
Yeah, I need to think about it too, because I can't imagine think of a sexual self-pres social role 1, and how like unhinged that would be, in my opinion.
Yeah, let me see if they have any.
Yeah,
I mean, so
like the competitiveness and like the jealousy, I feel like would be
because of how John
crazy.
is. Just imagining.
Okay, so
John was
Kanye. Kanye is a 1, and he's SPSX, and one way that comes out is like he's very, very like specific about the type of girls he goes for and like how they look, and then he will like control like how they look, like buy them. Like one of his like, I don't know, Julia Fox was saying like when she first met him, like I think it was our second date or something, he had bought her an entire wardrobe.
Yep.
And it's like, this girl's gonna style you.
Yeah, he did the same to Kim. And also, okay, so that's a great example of a social role 1 with sexual, because once Kanye and Kim broke up, he like went fucking crazy, just like insane with jealousy. You know, the Skeet era. I mean, hilarious, but also totally madness.
So we have Madonna and Bruce Lee typed as social role 1s, who are also sexual types, with sexual social.
Oh my god. Madonna is a 3 too, right?
Yeah, she's a 3, and she was going after. I mean, she still does that. She's just like the hottest guys that she can get at any point in time.
Like when she wasn't even famous yet, she had flirted with Mick Jagger, and they slept together. Just like here I am, I'm the shit.
Yeah.
Oh, Rihanna. Rihanna's sexual self-presence. She's a social type 1.
Oh,
so there
she's
you go.
A 1.
ASAP Rocky's her.
Is Skeet a 4?
Bitch. Huh? Probably.
Yeah, he is. They cite him as social role 4.
Skeet.
I'm trying to get hip with you, young.
That was just such a funny point in time of like, man, that's your worst, is calling him Skeet. It's just like such a Trump thing to do. Or Trump has all these like dumb nicknames for people, and the best Kanye could come up with for Pete Davidson was Skeet.
This is a good point for Rihanna, because she created a whole brand around, her lingerie, which is really empowering for like a lot of different size women. And he's like, just own how amazing you are, how sexy you are.
Yep.
And she became a billionaire off of that.
Yeah, she did the makeup line too, where she was one of the first makeup lines to have like a lot of darker shades of foundation too.
Yeah.
One thing that's interesting is on the nicknames thing, and that being a burn like Trump and Kanye, is like we were saying earlier, 1 and 4 identity and who you are as a person. So for them, that's the thing to hit, right? So a
good
nickname
point.
that's denigrating.
Yes.
Yeah. Sleepy. What is it? Which one is
Joe.
Sleepy? Sleepy Joe.
Right.
So good.
I'm trying to see if there are any sexual types that are typed social role for.
Carl Jung. That's
Carl
what I
Jung,
have so far.
That's
Pete Davidson is
social sexual.
Social sexual.
What would Dolly Parton be if you guys had to guess? Because she's like she could be like a, I don't know. I was literally about to guess.
She is kind of.
I got 2 or 4. She's like.
Yeah, she seems friend's favorite.
Really for the people. Yeah.
Yeah.
So how do you experience your social sexual as a social role for Ikram? I guess I could talk about how I experience you. Reveal your secrets.
I honestly, it would be easier if you did it. You did it, but then I don't trust you to do it without like embarrassing the shit out of me.
But Ikram,
or like you didn't embarrass me.
You're being a social four right now by not wanting to speak up for yourself.
I don't freaking. Okay. How do I experience?
I mean, I can kind of like with social sexual having no boundaries. There is like having being self-pres blind. There's like a boundary list you guys can fit into a lot of like spaces that self-pres people kind of can't get into in the social realm, and so you guys make connections really easily. Intimate relationships are formed really quickly and seamless, at least from my vantage point. And then on top of that being for the motivation to do that, what just gets that much higher?
That's okay. That's perfect. Yes. Because I think that was one of the first things I was processing when I was thinking about my social type. I was like, I relate to 4 the most or whatever. And I was like, is it just like self-pres blind being social sexual? But then one thing that became clear is when I was like comparing and contrasting with like Joseph, I'm like, oh, like a lot of the stuff that I like experienced as self-pres blind was just these lack of boundaries and like just caring way too much about my friends or like loving them too hard or whatever. That felt like that definitely goes like is in line with like social type 4. I remember being in 3rd grade, having to move, and I was saying goodbye to my best friend. It was raining in the middle of the night, and I was like sobbing. And I got in the car, and I told my mom to play Mariah Carey, like "We Belong Together." And for the next 2 years, like I would listen to that song and like cry for my friend Shahida. And I was like in the rain, like I'll never forget you. It meant something to me.
And I think that's what it is for me. I think the charm of the social role 4, and that thing you were talking about, the feminine identity, is like seeing all the parts of yourself that are vulnerable. And that's what is so what's the word I'm looking for? It's almost like self-deprecating charm in the sense that you're willing to show, because let's say the 1 is showing what's so great about me. 4s are showing like all the vulnerable parts of myself and how I feel like, oh, I really miss you, or I so it feels more.
It's disarming.
Yes. Yes. And so, I mean, for a social sexual DJ7, that's a huge contrast to what would be expected.
Yeah. And that makes total sense because Pete Davidson would be whatever, a pseudo type twin of mine. And this guy's like known for getting, he got fucking branded by Kim Kardashian. You know what I mean? It's like, this love will last forever. And then people keep on wondering why he keeps on getting, I mean, I guess this would go into like sexual, like as a, pulling in thing, whatever. Right. But like people always wonder, like, how did this guy like get with so many girls? And I think they're attracted to that intense, like, I'm in this. This is the most important thing in my fucking life.
Well, it's like emotional vulnerability. What's
Kim Kardashian in this?
I don't think
can't imagine she's not a. How is she?
She's probably going to be one.
She's probably one.
She has to be one.
Around how great she is. That's.
She would be another one.
I mean, also, who fucking lets somebody brand, like, if I'm dating somebody who's like my boyfriend has borderline personality disorder and I love him, I'm not then gonna like brand him with my fucking name. It's like, it's so.
Oh, yeah. Like,
you know what I mean?
To get what you're talking about, he like tattooed her name on him, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but like, I think it's an actual branding. Like, it's not even a tattoo, it's like fire and like a stamp.
Oh my god!
Like his paddle, like really bad. Crazy.
That's like a literalization of the thing I was talking earlier. Like the 4 like the ones nickname people, the 4 takes the branding. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then if we could use them as a case study, because it's just like, okay, like Pete Davidson is such a mess and it's kind of like hard to watch, but like I believe that he's loved, you know? But it's pathetic that he doesn't like have enough whatever, you know, to let that happen to him. And then on the other side, it's like Kim Kardashian, obviously a successful person, blah, blah, blah. But then you think about it, it's like, have you ever loved in your life? I'm not saying that ones haven't loved, but I'm just saying like it's like it's just the overabundance of like self-view and just like this dedication to getting yourself to the top. Like it takes away from you know, the smaller things.
I don't know, you know, I don't know anything about Kim Kardashian except like just she's just in my face all the time because it's bullshit. But like she's somebody I would imagine be impossible to be friends with. Like if she's a social one, like impossible to feel this person's in it with me. This person cares. Like she just would suck up everything in the room, and is like just the way it feels. And yeah, that's interesting.
And so maybe this gets into looking at this from a perspective of what does each of these need to integrate, or what you're missing. Because I mean, if you're a 1, and what that might be is that because you're missing this feminine or connection to these vulnerable parts of yourself, you're not able to connect with other people so easily because you're not getting emotionally vulnerable. You're doing big me and big ego, and then the opposite being that you're not speaking up for yourself. Your big identity. If you're a 4, you're maybe too self-effacing, but then you have a lot of friends. And you know, same thing with 2 and 3. Like, you know, if this blind spot represents something essential that has to be, that you are going to experience some kind of tidal wave or problem if you don't integrate.
And it seems like I don't know if we said this already, that that you'll experience the so-called blind spot through the lens of the first one. You know what I mean? The top one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you say more about how that might show up?
Well, just like the thing I was talking about earlier of, I don't know, having a tidal wave of thinking all of my Enneagram stuff is just a kooky,
I see.
whatever. So it's that my specialization was nothing, and I'm responsible for this mess that I've made with this Facebook group and all of my online insanity or whatever.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I mean, it is true. Come on.
But no, yeah, that's good. That's a good follow-up to it.
Yeah.
There's still a lot more coming up for me as I think about it. From the perspective of people's Enneagram stuff, like this can really help explain. I mean, there are certain things just of Enneagram type twins that, why is this social self-pres 9 so fucking big personality and this one isn't? Like, we don't exact same fucking type, but like this one has way more drive to be in front of people,
right?
And the other one doesn't.
I'm thinking about my type twin, David Lynch, SPSX 974. He's probably, he might even be a 2.
I think he's probably a 2. Like to be a director, you're gonna have some savior responsibility for sure.
And he's shepherding people. There's a lot of that energy about how he's working with the actors. It's kind of almost doting mother hen kind of energy.
He does have a kind of a mothery quality.
That's right.
And you know, I don't know much about David Lynch, but I know that I don't know if he still does it, but every day he would do like
weather report.
The weather report. And that's just like a weird keeping people updated, participating kind of a thing, you know?
And when his movie came out and he was afraid of sales or whatever, he didn't get a lot of money for like advertisement. He brought a table like on the street and was like advertising to people, like just walking by, giving them a pamphlet, be like, you should go to my movie.
You know what's funny is he had a cow with him, a live cow. So he was bringing the milk. There's mother's milk.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting way to look at, okay, this is why this social blind 9 is doing all this,
right?
Shepherding, or this assertive type, like 8, 7, or 3 is really off in their corner doing their own thing.
Totally. Yeah. One thing, maybe just to, I don't know, conclude or whatever in summary, but one thing that I really like about these social types is I actually don't think it's as rigid as presented. Like I know there might be an argument for like people being born that way. I don't know if we could ever prove that. But one thing I realized when I got the feminine and masculine polarity for Friends and Flex, it did make like a few people make more sense as well. Like how somebody can be so self-focused and driven, but also like super sweet. Like Beyonce, I think, is like a humble person, but I can see like easily how she's a 1. And so I was just thinking, I was like, yeah, like everyone who is struggling with their blind spot with social types, really what you have to do is just like change the engine a little bit. So if you're struggling with specialization, whatever tidal wave of like something that David was talking about, like where you feel like your work is not valuable or you don't know how to get it out there, you would have to maybe pull a David Lynch and do a responsibility thing and like have a picket fence or a table where people come and get your stuff, and similar thing with Flex and whatever.
Yeah, burning out.
Yeah, it's really good.
Burning out. Almost there.
All right. Well, I think
that's enough for an episode.
My cup runneth over.
Yes. Yeah. Sorry, I've been so quiet. I've been like dead.
Cup runneth over. Yeah, we've. This is pretty late for us. Generally, we usually start earlier.
Thanks for accommodating my absent-mindedness.
Yeah, no problem.
We always accommodate your absent-minded, David. We're used to it.
Yeah, for real. I mean, for real. Like we're just like, yeah, this is David. Whatever.
This is David.
I'm a 3 social role, so I'm just gonna, I'm not responsible.
All right.
Yeah, we did.
All right. This was great. We're having OD on next doing astrocartography.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Cartography. Do you know that I have a line going through both Somalia and Edmonton?
Wow.
And of course, Texas.
Yeah. So, all right. So, I heard that, Ikram, you might be going to Texas or something, and there's
back to Texas.
So I mean, you got some dark fate in Texas, but it's like Courtney brought that up when we were hanging out because I told her about y'all. Yeah, she was like, "Oh yeah, doesn't his astrocartography have these lines to whatever?"
Interesting. Texas, man. But no, I have a line going.
The city all of my ancestors were born in. Like,
oh my gosh, that's cool.
Wow.
I was like, what are the chances? It's crazy. Yeah.
Oh, cute.
Yeah.
All your ancestors are like, let him know you have the better goat.
Yeah.
I've been letting him know.
She's been trying to talk
the better
shit.
Goat.
She's been trying to talk shit. But it's not working because I can't find a Somali restaurant. So amazing. Where are they?
They're not on Google Maps. I can find you one in Chicago.
It's somebody's kitchen.
On Google Maps.
Oh my god.
It's some auntie's kitchen.
Okay, guys, I'm spading so bad. I feel like I've been having a stroke. I've had 5 strokes on this pod. I'm so sorry. I felt them happening. I'm like, what's going on?
There's a lot of stroking on this pod.
I was getting scared. I was like, I am absolutely stroking out. Like, what?
Oh, no,
someone give me a fucking hand. So I will have to go to bed. I almost stroked out there too.
Stroking in bed.
All right, guys. Yeah, I'm gonna go to bed too.
All right, guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
All right, love you guys.
Love you.